mission today is to figure out what feels like the single greatest structural hypocrisy in modern urban planning.
It really is.
We're tackling what we started calling the Great Holiday Cessation.
It's this annual paradox, and it's glaring. You have cities spending billions, literally billions, to get people to abandon the private car.
Right.
They're pushing public transport as the only sustainable way forward. But then, the moment a major holiday like Christmas Day hits, that entire essential utility just vanishes.
It's gone. And so we dove deep into materials like the Transport for London annual report for 2024-25 and planning documents from New York, other international cities to really look at the fallout of this.
And it's a systemic issue, but London is probably the most extreme case study you can find.
How so?
Well, their official policy is a near-complete system shutdown on December 25th. That means no buses, no rail, and the underground. Well, the tube hasn't run on Christmas Day since 1979.
Since 79.
Wow. So this isn't just a reduced service. It's a planned, near-total vacuum of mobility. And that's really the core of this deep dive for you, the listener. You're constantly told to live sustainably, to use the system, but we need to understand why that system fails you on the one day you might need it most.
Okay, so let's start by looking at the other 364 days of the year. Because the sheer scale of the investment in that 2024-25 TfL report, it makes the Christmas silence feel even more jarring.
It absolutely does. This system is designed to be a global model.
And it's working.
It is. I mean, just look at the Elizabeth line. It's still kind of rolling out its full potential, but it hit an absolutely staggering 570 million passenger journeys in the last reporting period.
Wait, 570 million? That's not just a big number. That makes it the busiest single railway service in the entire UK.
Exactly. It just proves the public is hungry for high-quality, reliable transit. The demand is there.
So the investment isn't just these huge, shiny projects.
No, not at all. They're constantly tweaking the existing network to boost connectivity, especially in outer London, where people tend to rely on cars more.
But the Superloop.
The Superloop Express bus network, yeah. It just had its first anniversary, and it's already showing an average passenger increase of 11% on those routes. It shows that smart, targeted investment works.
And they're making it easier to use, too. I thought this was fascinating, the renaming of the overground lines in November 2024.
Giving them distinct names and colors.
Suddenly, it's not just the overground. It's the Mildmay line, the Lioness line, the Suffragette line. It kind of humanizes the network. They're investing in identity and clarity.
And they're all in on active travel, too. The report shows 18 new cycleways, adding 35 kilometers to the network. Plus, 900 new e-bikes for the Santander fleet.
Every decision seems guided by sustainability.
It is. They're aiming for net zero by 2040. That's an aggressive target.
And you can see the engineering behind it, like that new rain garden on the Marylebone flyover.
Yeah.
The largest of its kind in central London. It's not short-term thinking.
And this commitment to safety is just as absolute. They're still pushing for Vision Zero, the goal to eliminate all deaths and serious injuries by 2041.
And they're making progress.
Real, measurable progress. The number of people killed on London's roads was down 30% in 2023, compared to the baseline from a decade ago.
But here's where that hypocrisy you mentioned really lands. They're making the roads safer, which is great, but then they essentially hand them back to private cars on the one day the system closes.
That is the disconnect. In October 2024, they strengthened the direct vision standard for heavy goods vehicle.
The DVS, right.
Yeah, trucks over 12 tons now need a 3-star rating to even operate in London. It's a massive safety intervention to protect people every single day of the year.
Except for the day the entire public system designed to get those dangerous vehicles off the road is intentionally shut down.
Oh, well.
So why? Why does the UK, and especially London, cling to this total shutdown model when they've spent a year optimizing everything? We're just told it's tradition.
And what's so fascinating when you dig into the history is that it is absolutely not some timeless tradition.
It's not.
Not at all. Reduced rail service on Christmas only really began after nationalization in 1948. The big shift, the really widespread cuts, that was a cost-saving move that started in 1961 when passenger numbers were dipping.
And the other big piece was labor, wasn't it? The unions.
A huge piece. The unions successfully campaigned for the enforced day off. And they were right to. They saw it as an essential improvement in living standards for transport workers.
A massive victory for labor rights.
Which became a massive loss for public mobility. That's the crux of it.
So besides the labor agreement, what's the other argument?
The other big one is logistics. They call it the engineering window.
Right. A chance to do major work.
Exactly. The festive period, especially Christmas Day, is this golden opportunity for disruptive track work that you just can't do when the network is carrying, hundreds of millions of journeys.
And we saw that in the sources. They're planning a total closure of London Waterloo for 4 straight days in 2025. I mean, that's a huge hub.
It's necessary maintenance, no one denies that. But the question is whether a total closure is the only option. And that's where the UK's all-or-nothing approach looks, well, a little dated.
So how does somewhere like Paris handle it?
Paris adjusts. It doesn't suspend. The RATP and SNCF services are modified, but they never just shut down.
So they do the maintenance, but they work around it.
They do. If a line like the RERC has to close for work late at night on Christmas Day, they arrange replacement bus services. They bridge the gap. They prioritize continuity.
They don't just say, sorry, we're closed, find another way.
Exactly. And Australia goes even further.
Yeah.
Melbourne makes all public transport completely free on Christmas Day.
Sorry.
Completely free. And Sydney runs its trains and buses on a modified Saturday timetable. Even some of the ferries are still running. So it's clear. Maintaining a basic system is a policy choice. And the UK's total shutdown is also a choice, not an inevitability.
And that choice creates a devastating mobility gap. This is where the real human cost comes in, especially for people who have no car to fall back on.
We're talking about forced immobility for a huge number of people. In the UK, around 22% of households don't have access to a car.
And that number is much higher in cities and for low-income families.
Much higher. Yep. So for millions of people, Christmas Day means you literally cannot travel to see family. You can't access services. You're stuck.
And this just makes existing problems worse. We already know about the transport accessibility gap. Disabled people in the UK already take 38% fewer trips. A shutdown just widens that gap into a canyon.
And that isolation, it isn't just a sad story. It's a public health crisis. The research is clear. Poor public transport leads to social isolation and loneliness, especially for older adults.
Which is linked to worse health and higher healthcare costs.
Directly linked. But here's the truly astonishing detail from the sources. The burden this places on essential workers. Exactly. They are legally required to work, but the public transport infrastructure that's supposed to serve them just collapses.
So what happens? How do they get to work?
The hospitals end up footing the bill for private transport. They divert clinical funds to solve a citywide infrastructure failure.
You're kidding.
We looked at a case study of a large London NHS hospital, over 8,000 staff. The lack of public transport on Christmas meant they had to build their own parallel transport network.
A parallel network? Like they become a private taxi firm?
Essentially, yes. They use this specialized SmartLink technology to manage over 1,700 transport bookings for staff just between Christmas Eve and the New Year.
So the hospital trust is using its own budget to pay for taxis?
To ensure nurses and doctors can get in to provide patient care. It's an insane duplication of cost and effort.
The state demands the service, but its transport arm forces the health service to spend millions on private fixes, a total false economy.
Right. And of course, the NHS staff themselves try to keep spirits up. Free meals for staff, delivering gifts to patients. But that's a bandage on a broken leg.
Which brings us full circle back to the policy mechanisms. Because all these costs, the hospital taxis, the social isolation, it all points back to money. The entire financial model for public transit relies on the very thing it's trying to get rid of.
The private car. It's the central irony.
So let's talk about that. London is clearly dependent on road user charges to fund all those improvements we mentioned.
Absolutely. And you see it in the proposed changes to the London congestion charge. There is a plan to increase the daily charge from 15 to 18 pounds in January 2026.
And the reason for that is key, isn't it?
It's vital. The official reason is to maintain the deterrent effect. They project that if they don't raise the price, an extra 2,200 cars will start driving into the zone every day.
So they're raising the price not just for revenue, but to actively make it too expensive for you to drive. It's behavior control through cost.
Precisely. The price has to be painful enough to change your mind. Otherwise, drivers just absorb it, the roads clog up, and the whole point is lost.
And the pressure is only going to grow as the perks for clean vehicles disappear. The cleaner vehicle discount for electric cars ends, rather poetically, on Christmas Day 2025.
Yes, and a new, much less generous discount starts after that. The signal is clear. Eventually, even clean vehicles will be charged. The city needs the revenue.
So the congestion charge and ULEZ, that money is legally required to go back into the transport network.
Correct. That's what pays for the electric buses and the new cycleways. And this model is being copied everywhere. Look at New York City's congestion pricing scheme.
Right, which has been delayed forever.
But the plan is to raise $500 million a year. And that money is specifically allocated. 80% to NYC Transit, 10% each to the commuter rail lines. It's a dedicated funding stream to make the network more resilient.
And the policy docs we saw recommend getting even more sophisticated, varying the fee by time of day, charging bigger trucks more, adding two-way tolling so people can't toll shop. The car is the piggy bank for the alternative. So what does this all mean for you, the person just trying to get around a modern city? We see this huge investment, we see policy designed to push us out of our cars, and we see the very real social costs when the system shuts down.
And the system is entirely reliant on charging those cars to survive.
It's this fundamental tension. We're told public transit is an essential utility, right? Like water or electricity.
Exactly. Necessary for economic, social, environmental health. But operationally, it's treated like a commercial convenience that can just be switched off because of old labor deals and planning preferences.
Yep.
That contradiction just isn't sustainable.
So what's the path forward then?
It has to be a structural change in mindset. Public transit needs to be reclassified legally as a baseline essential service. It needs a mandated minimum operational level, say a Sunday timetable, every single day of the year.
Treat it like a utility.
Treat it like a utility, not a business that can close for the holidays. And we have to stop making hospitals use their clinical budgets to solve transport problems. We need a harmonized system for essential workers.
That makes sense.
But I think the really provocative thought to leave you with is this. If the main driver for the shutdown is traditional labor costs and that engineering window, how quickly might new technologies change that equation?
You mean things like automation?
Automated services, on-demand shuttles, the kind of things explored in projects like the Avenue Smart Mobility trials. Could that kind of technology fill the holiday gap? Could it provide that guaranteed minimum service without the current labor structure? That's the question that will really decide if cities can ever truly declare war on the car without leaving millions of people behind.